So if anybody hops on, I'll make sure I tell them that this isn't for the reals. This is just a test.
Not for real.
I got to figure out how to get rid of my side blocks too.
Your side blocks.
See, I've got the blocks on the side of the thing.
Oh, and I gotta pair my headphones or not. I got my new phone today. Not really new, my replacement phone.
All right. Oh, we got a couple people watching. Hey, this is not for real yet. We're still waiting to. We're just testing sound and stuff. So we're gonna just check sound and then we'll log back on here in a second. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear Zeke and me. So Zeke, give us a quick, give us a few lines of "She's on It" by the Beastie Boys.
But she won't on because she's got that itch. I'm trying to pair. I'm going to be using my headphones here, so I want to pair up my headphones, and I'm in the process of pairing these bad boy right now.
Yeah, you're frozen. Your picture's frozen as well. You're not moving. You're either that or you're really good at the staying still game.
The statue game.
Oh, did we lose you, Zeke?
Okay, hold on.
All right.
All right, there we go. So this is the audio of my headset. I had to get this.
All right, Christina, you're out there watching. Can you hear Zeke? Okay, give me a thumbs up if you can hear Zeke. Okay, Zeke, start talking, bud.
Hello. How are we doing tonight?
Could be a little louder. Let's see. Okay, let's hit this button. All right, Zeke, give us some more here.
All right, so
is that better or worse?
Sip. I can't remember which one of these. I think this is my
That's
microphone
better.
here.
That's way better. That's way better.
That's way better. That's the microphone. All right, so I'm going to switch. I got it on backwards because it should be on my left side.
All right, Aiden's on too. Aiden, can you hear Zeke okay? We've had some problems with the sound in the last, and that's kind of what we're doing here. That's why we're on 15 minutes early, is to just kind of see if we can get the sound. So Zeke, give us a quick. I know I'm fine, so I'll shut up and you talk for a little bit.
All right, man, that sounds good. Hopefully everybody can hear me clear out there.
All right, Christina Harper Grant says thumbs up, so I think that's
thumbs up. Everybody's sounding good. We sound good.
Danielle says it's better. Hey, Bill, talk.
Oh, you know you can hear me. That shouldn't be an issue.
Oh, what are we drinking tonight, my man?
Oh, just water, sir.
All right, well, I guess we could stay on. I mean, there's no reason to get off if everything works, right?
Why not? Yeah, I guess so. This is like the early bird special.
Right.
Like the blue plate, right? You show up at the 5:30 for the early bird seniors and citizens dinner.
Well, you know what? We only have about a half dozen people, so I'll get what I was going to say that's very, very controversial. I have some controversial stuff I want to talk about, and I'm going to get it out of the way early.
Stuff, and I'm going to announce my new position with the Mystery Collection.
I'm excited to hear about this.
I thought you would be. That's kind of like my big thing. So
well, my controversial statement of the day is I no longer, Sandra Bullock is no longer my most hated actress.
What?
Ooh.
I've hated Sandra Bullock, and I thought she was a terrible actress.
That's a tough bar to climb.
Somebody has beat her out on an actress that I hate more. Reese Witherspoon is I hate that actress. She is my least favorite actress. Danielle and I watched a show last night called Something Fires All Over or something.
Little fires everywhere.
And she only knows one role, and it's the same thing she does every time, and it's boring and it's tired. So,
but that's a killer show.
Well, we're only one episode in.
Yeah, you watch the whole thing through; it's really good.
So
the thing that impresses me with Reese Witherspoon is she looks like a completely different person in every movie she's in. And until she starts talking and going into that kind of half dipsy kind of character that she does, I don't recognize her. But it just seems like every movie she's in, she looks totally and completely different.
Well, I disagree. I hate her guts, and I hope she gets coronavirus. And
the corona?
Yeah. I hope her cancer gets coronavirus. So
double C.
All right. Oh,
The
good.
corona cancer.
We've got our friend from Ireland, Christina, says that she can't stand either of them. So, all right. So it looks like we're right at, well, we're still a couple minutes early, so we'll just kind of give them a little bit. Zeke, you heard any good jokes lately?
As a matter of fact, there was one that I read across today that was absolutely brilliant, and I'm going to try to drop as many magicians' names as I possibly can, since mine was dropped this past Sunday like 100 times. And one thing, and this was pointed out to me, and in studying the field of the esoteric and the occult, images of Satan or Lucifer, Beelzebub, comes up a lot. And one thing that is common in every piece of information about him is how great his hair is, which is like a double whammy to me right now because my hair is so bad I have to wear this hat. But he, all the pictures you see, he's got the handlebar mustache, he's got the pointy beard, he's got the flowing hair, the locks of hair, he's got the Max Maven hairdo, he's got all this stuff. And I never thought about this, but it was pointed out that if Satan ever lost his hair, there would be hell to pay. That's for you, Vince Wilson. That's for you.
So, all right. Well, I think we got. We'll give a few more minutes. Nice.
And just like my show, the more I drink, the better I am.
Well, the more my audience drinks, the better I am. I say that all the time. The more you drink, the better the show.
Right.
So I launched my Patreon, and I'm going to talk about this here in a little bit. And today I formed the members only Facebook group, and tonight they all get the first peek at the East Coast Spirit Session performance from this past January that my East Coast Spirit Sessions performance, where I come out guns blazing. I come out pissing holy water right at the beginning of the
right.
That's a good
if they're
video,
paying
too.
for it, they know what they're getting into,
So
right?
Stephanie Bowles just joined us. Stephanie was the second of the Patreon person. So Stephanie, you'll get to see the video that I'm talking about. You'll get to see it tonight. Oh, Soy Don says he's here for the Zeke Powerz experience.
Yes.
Aren't we
yes. Fantastic. And I'm sure it's covered in the fine print on the participant levels and everything, but I'm pretty sure that the Mystery Collection, no way, shape, or form, is responsible for any type of counseling, therapy, or medication that'll be required after viewing or participating.
Well, there could be some medication. This is Colorado, so.
Oh, okay.
But it'll be.
So what you're saying, you'll live like a Christmas tree on the 4th of July.
Yeah, it will be recreational medication on the 4th of July. So, all right, we'll go ahead and get started. We got a few minutes, and nobody's going to get mad that we're starting early. So,
Right.
Thanks.
Snooze, you lose.
And I think, you know what, we've been getting a lot of views the week after, so, and this is kind of a special pop-up one. I got all excited and said, we're going to do this Wednesday. And I called you and said, hey, you want to do this Wednesday? And then I remembered tomorrow's my mom's birthday. And so, they're coming over for dinner, and I don't think my mom gives one shit about any of this stuff. Zeke is one of my favorite people in the world, and we'll get into why here during this show tonight. But as he mentioned earlier, his name has been dropped most, I think, out of anybody ever. I think every episode we've tried to sneak it in at least once. I was trying to get Nick Wagner in too, and there I got him in this one. So and then my buddy Bill Gurman decided to come along because Bill and Zeke have got to know each other on Zeke's journeys here. So I asked Bill to come have a beer with me and talk with my buddy Zeke. Zeke is a performer unlike you've ever seen before. Zeke is the first time I saw Zeke, he was at the East Coast Spirit Sessions. Was it 1 or 2 where you did the?
I was at 1. It was 2 when I followed Striving.
Okay,
right?
And I went down there with Mark Strivings. Were you there? You were there that year, weren't you? Did you see the City of Lights show?
No, that was the next year.
Okay,
Because you followed in that year, right?
No, you and I did the show the next year, right? Your first performance was with Strivings. And Zeke got up there, and I had never met Zeke. I was still fairly new to this genre of magic, and Zeke got up there, and Zeke murdered. Absolutely one of the funniest, most well put together shows, while maintaining this air of, I'm just up here having a conversation with you. And he has a line that I it's the City of Lights line. I won't take a whole much more, but it will live longer than Zeke Powerz will live, because it is one of the funniest things in the world. So the next year they asked me to perform, and they said, we're going to have you go right after Zeke Powerz. And I thought, oh fuck, right? How am I going to do this? So I worked on it, and I decided I'm not going to go funny. I'm going to go dark, and I'm going to go serious. So I built up a routine that was going to be, it was Friday the 13th, right? You were at 11 p.m. and I was at midnight on Friday the 13th.
That's correct.
And so I was going to come out and be doom and gloom, and you know, the demons and the monsters of hell are coming, and I watched Zeke, and I turned to my buddy James Corbin, who is going to, I'm sure if he's not watching, he will. And I said, there's no way I can do this. And so I abandoned my script because Zeke was so good that night. I knew I could not follow that and change the mood. So I abandoned my script, and I just went up there and I winged it. I told jokes, and I made fun of other magicians, and I made fun of myself. And so Zeke is really responsible for, indirectly responsible for the act that I've traveled with for 5 years, and that's gotten me where I am today. So Zeke was a big part of that. We became fast friends, and he's come out. He's a Cleveland Browns fan, so he's come out to Colorado a couple times to see the Cleveland Brownies. 1 win and 1 loss, but we'll take it, right?
1-1.
So
waiting on the rubber match.
Yeah, right. Well, we have to go see that one in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
So and then Bill, my friend Bill Gurman, I'll give him a quick introduction. Bill has been to more Mystery Collection shows than I think anybody in the world. I think Bill could probably do the show if I needed to step out at night. If I got the Reese, which I'm going to start calling now the Reese Witherspoon disease. If I got it, and Bill could probably step in. Bill's been one of the bigger supporters and one of my best friends for a long time. So and he.
That's why I go so often, because one of these days
Yeah,
he's just gonna he's just gonna collapse, and I'm just gonna push the body aside and pick right up where he was. I've got this friend Yehudi.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I got it.
When you say collapse, struck by lightning is what?
Right. Well, that could happen any
Could
day.
go many ways.
So Zeke, I've sang your praises. I've sang your praises for a good, I think 8 weeks now. We've mentioned you in most of the shows, and so I'm going to let you have go ahead and tell everybody kind of a little bit about yourself and your journey on how you got where you were, from where you were to where you are, how you became a Cleveland Browns fan. The story about your rap career, which I did tell Zeke about the Homeboys at Home, and there may be some news coming about Homeboys at Home one of these days. So Zeke, give us a little bit about the Zeke Powerz experience, about the paranormalmagician.com.
All right. So first of all, thank you for the kind words, and thanks for taking the time to invite me to be on here. I've been a fan of the Mystery Collection since day one. I met Paul at East Coast Spirit Sessions 1. I think we sat at a table. I think Aiden was there, and a few other guys, and we kind of talked shop a little bit. And nothing much more than that. Following year 2 is when I performed, because I kept begging them. I'm like, please let me perform. And they said, okay, you get 20 minutes after Mark's driving.
After Mark's driving, right? Oh, and by the way, he's going to do
Friday night after the big show, after everybody's run,
and also Strivings is going to do the death act, so you get to follow the Mark Striving. Yeah, right.
So we go into. So the story is, I go into the room and there's Mark Strivings, and I'm like, oh hey Mark, nice to meet you. We're performing up front. Who do we talk to about setting it up and all of that? And it was kind of like, well, you're up there, just go have it. And I was like, well, okay. So I did a big intro for Mark to kind of kick it off, and then he finished and he returned the favor. And I was pretty stinking nervous to follow Mark. And when you go into the room and you have a couple of guys pull you aside and they're like, hey, see the guy wearing the purple hat? He's hammered. Do not pick him. Okay, great. And then as you're working your way through the crowd, you get a couple more like, no, not this guy either. Like, pretty soon you realize like half the crowd is already hammered, and it just doesn't matter. Just go up and have fun, and that's what I did. And my little bit was City of Lights, and if you don't know it, I've used it for years and years. And I tried to work it into every show that I do. It just doesn't always make it into the show. One of the things that I talked with a friend of mine who performed in Pigeon Forge, something they would always do is they had a challenge about knowing all the nicknames of all the cities. For example, Toledo, Ohio is known as the Glass City, Dayton, Ohio, the Gem City, Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, and so on and so on. The city that never sleeps, the city of angels, every city has a moniker. So the goal is, as a performer for me, is to try to find a city that nobody has ever heard of. And then I use my generic template of, City of Lights, because I usually can name off all the other major cities. And sometimes you get everybody from the same city, Atlanta. And they're like, okay, it never happened. So that's okay. And I used to live in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I love it when I get somebody from Indianapolis in my show, because I can talk for a long time about all the great things in the Circle City. And one city that I don't have anything for, and this is very coincidental, is Minneapolis, Minnesota.
You got something for him now. You got lots for him now.
Yeah, there's a lot of material that is available out there. And so anytime that I get somebody, there's a couple other cities in my routine that works into this mold. I do a blatant miscall. I mispronounce or miscall the city. Atlantic, Iowa is one of my favorites because I'm like, where are you from? Atlantic, Iowa, Atlanta, Georgia, fantastic, all the, and so then I give my speech about how wonderful the city is, and then I get corrected by the participant, and they just kind of look at me and they're like, no, look, Joker, you got the city wrong. It's Atlantic, Iowa, or Minneapolis, not Indianapolis. And so I just pause and let it hang there, and then oh, yeah, of course, City of Lights. And then I just go on with it. And once people kind of catch on to it, it's one of those laughs that kind of starts, and it's like popcorn. It's a couple at first, and everybody kind of gets it and realizes that it's just all a bunch of lies. As soon as they do that, then they get to enjoy the show. The biggest thing I remember about performing with Paul is they misspelled his name.
They misspelled it two or three different ways on all the promo stuff.
So anytime that I send Paul a letter or a package or anything like that to the mystery collection, I make it a point to completely butcher his name. And also all the alternate great other names he should have been named, like the Noppenzinger, the Noppenheimer, and so on and so on. So my history real quick, I was born at a very early age.
I want to interrupt you real quick. I just want to, can everybody hear okay? If you can't hear okay, put in the message.
Yeah,
also, if you have any questions for Zeke or for me or for Bill, let us know here. But I'm not seeing anybody complain about the sound, so it looks like everybody can hear fine. So sorry, Zeke, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was born at a very early age. Pretty sure it was 0, and was born in Florida. My parents decided I didn't have a vote to move to Ohio. I grew up in the Midwest between Dayton, Ohio, and Indianapolis. Dayton, Ohio, home of the Wright brothers. They invented the airplane because they were trying to find the fastest way out of Dayton. And also Dayton is known as the crossroads of America because that's where I-75 and I-70 connect. Matter of fact, I-70 and I-75 are the two best things to come out of Dayton. So there's another little piece of history for you. Once I became an adult and I could choose where to live and what to do, I moved to the South immediately to get away from the weather. I lived in what I think is probably the most beautiful part, the Tri-City area of North Georgia, Eastern Carolina, and or Eastern Tennessee and Western North Carolina, right here at the foothills of the Appalachian Trail, the Smoky Mountains, and I love it. Meth is a problem, though, but not with me, usually. So
thanks for the clarifier.
For me, my dad, I was a daddy's boy, and he was a bit of a gambler. He was a shyster, con artist, a hustler, if you will. I learned how to count by adding up playing cards and using playing cards. I had a job. I was responsible for taking all the money out of the vending machine we had in his business for soda and rolling up the quarters and nickels and dimes. I became fascinated with money and what it looked and the artistry of it. My dad would tell me stories about guys that could take coins and roll them on their knuckles, and he knew a couple coin tricks and a couple card tricks. So I was introduced to magic at a very, very early age. My father passed away suddenly when I was 10. I found myself kind of bouncing around from foster home to foster home. My mom was kind of dealing with that. When she was able to get a handle on her mental health and her situation, and I went back to live with my mom, she developed cancer. She died a couple of years later, so I spent the next part of my teenage years kind of taking care of her. I felt myself homeless at the age of 15. I stayed with a few friends from here and there the best I could. And then was sleeping under a bridge in Ohio in January. It's extremely cold. Don't recommend it. At that point, I thought, I probably need to go back to that foster care situation because that's really got to be better than this. So I went to the Children's Services Board, and they didn't know what to do because they didn't understand a kid there to turn themselves in to become a foster kid. They go pick kids up and bring them in. They never had anybody like that. I just said, look, I just want to go to school. I want to, I looked around, I saw what everybody else was doing. They were dropping out of school. They were doing drugs, they were selling drugs. They were just participating, not trying to better themselves. And I just knew that I didn't want to be like any of those people. So that was a big focus for me. Went into foster care, never got adopted. I was up for sale or adoption or whatever, never got picked up. When I turned 18, I moved out and I never looked back. I think sometimes in the back of my mind, I'm always fearful that I'll make a slip or a mistake and find myself homeless again. And I think that's part of what drives me to do what I do. I've been, as far as the world of magic, when I got back into magic in the early 90s, I think I kind of stepped in and wanted to be like that street performer, hustler, con artist type. I did street magic. I trained under Larry Taylor, who's someone I consider not only a brother, but really truly a mentor and an artist and a master of the guild. I learned Kung Fu from him. I learned so many different things. And I found myself moving into the field of mentalism. And the only problem with when you're doing mentalism or mind reading magic is it's very difficult to practice that in front of a mirror. You can do that with cards, you can do that with coins and how sleights look and all of that. But you can't really ask yourself to think of a number and then guess that number and not know it. You have to have other people. And he said, you need to go out to the streets and you need to work in the streets and work with people and develop your act. And that's what I did. And it was a huge leveling up moment for me. I did that for a long time. David Groves, who wrote the book, How to Be a Street Magician, I bought his book. He came out and lectured. We did we banged the streets of the Oregon district together, as he said. And that was a great experience for me. And it was able for me to see what works and what doesn't and how to really develop some of my own personal methods. As I was moving into more and more mentalism, I then found myself as a full-time magician, and I refer to those as my days when I was kind of pouring myself around. I was doing balloon animals and kid shows, and I was just absolutely miserable. And I was doing, I remember on the weekends, I'd have 3 shows I have 2 shows on a Friday, 3 or 4 on a Saturday, a couple on a Sunday, and I would be absolutely exhausted for the entire week. And next weekend, the same thing. And it was like a labor of love in between doing like grand openings and company picnics. I was, blowing up twisting balloons and Rocky Raccoonin and all of that. And I hated it. And I didn't hate magic. I just hated what I was doing. I hated doing balloons. I hated doing sponge balls. I really, really just hated those things. And I just had to look at my own character persona and decide, is this what I want to do? And I decided it wasn't. So I made some other choices and focused on, I wanted what Eugene Berger told me is that he wanted his magic to have a little bit more of a meaning to what he did. And I wanted to have something that I didn't want it to be cheap and shallow. I wanted to have something that would be a little bit deeper. As the paranormal magician, I guarantee that every audience member that comes to my show will have a paranormal experience. I start my show off with that right away. I define what paranormal is for everybody. If you don't know, para, which means outside or outside the scope of, and normal is what we consider normal. And I like to challenge a lot of people to ask, what is normal for you? It's not normal for someone else. But when you look at experiencing things outside of the normal realm of vision, the normal realm of sight, the normal realm of touch, with like what you do, Paul, with experiencing ghostly contact with an invisible friend, there's a moment there where it gets very surreal and it makes people, think. The world of seance and magic is very blurred, and I love to live right here in the gray between the black and the white, and challenge people to, look at things that, are they real? Are they not real? Is it paranormal? Is it a trick? If you're asking those questions, and I feel like I've done my job as an entertainer for you, and I tell everybody up front, magician, you can take that. I think that allows me enough comfort room for me and my audience to just say, I don't come out and say it's a theatrical presentation. I don't say it's presenting 100% facts or any of that. I just say this is magician's entertainment. But what you get out of it is that. And I have had, and you had some great questions the other day with Christopher, the Big Icky, who was on there, and some of the others, that you will have people come up to your show and ask you, hey, I need you to contact a relative of mine. Hey, can you do this? And one moment for me that was really a changing on the path from just a regular everyday, silks and playing cards magician into the world of mind reading is I did a show for the, it was a celebration of the India Club. And if you know anything about the history of India and the Gali Gali guys and the street workers and the fakers, India has a very deep, rich history of magic, and magic is very real in that culture. And I was hired to perform for a celebration, and they wanted a magician there. And I come in, and I was, this big, tall, goofy white guy, and here's all of these kids and these families and everything, and they knew exactly who I was. And I stepped out on stage, and when I stepped out on stage, and it said about 300 people in the audience, and about half of those were children, probably a couple hundred were children. And when they introduced me and the curtains opened and I stepped forward and I welcomed everybody, at that moment, those 150 to 200 kids all got up out of their seats and rushed up to the stage. Now I thought I was about to get taken down, and they all came up to the footsteps of the stage, and they stood there and watched me perform. And it was really it was very surreal to see them all just quietly stand up and move towards the stage. And secondly, that I didn't know if they were going to like me and they were going to beat me up or jump me or whatever. And
kids, we've all talked about this. Kids are hard. Kids, I don't do, my own kids don't like me. Why the hell am I going to perform for other people's kids, right?
Right. And so I was closing they had 2 acts of their show, and I was bridging the 2 acts. I was closing the first half out, and then I was starting the second half. And so I closed the first half, the curtains closed, they went on to do concessions and announcements and so on. And the lady who organized the event come backstage, and she says, can I talk to you? And I'm like, absolutely, here we go. What's this going to be about? And she says, listen, you absolutely are fantastic, and the kids love it, but they really want to see you. They don't want you up on stage. They want you. Is it possible that maybe instead of doing that big illusion that you're going to unpack and crate in and set up and all of this, instead of that, could you maybe come out and maybe just do a few card tricks for them? And I was like, let me think about it. Yes,
right.
I'd be more than happy to. And she goes, and so I did that, and I finished and did walk around with the kids, and they would follow me around. I had a great time. Everything went great. And the lady who organized the event come up afterwards. She thanked me. She gave me my payment, and then she asked me if I could do a favor. And I said, sure. And she said, would you read my palm? And she put her hand out to me, and I had no idea what to do. And now, as a magician and a performer, I remember Billy McComb says, you never tell them about something you can't do. He got a call one time that they needed somebody to play the guitar. And he said, do you play the guitar? He says, no, but I teach it. And they're like, okay, well, you're hired. And then he went and started taking guitar lessons to learn how to play the guitar. And he wasn't really paying attention to playing the guitar. He was paying attention to what the teacher was teaching him, so he could assume that role when he took that gig. Now, and I told her that I would be more than happy to do that, but this is not the right venue and the place for it. And she says, I definitely understand. It was very forward of me to ask here. And she gave me her business card. Give me a call and we'll set up a private arrangement. So I remember getting in my car, driving straight to my buddy Larry's house, and I go, okay, what do I do? That's when I realized that when I had been taking magic lessons from him, he was doing readings for people. And I never made the connection because we would be working on something and then somebody would show up and he goes, hey, I got to do a reading. I'll be right back. Okay. And I didn't know if it was poetry. It never really registered what he was doing. And then I realized that he was actually reading the tarot. And he was reading palms. And he told me that he taught me. I learned how to read the tarot from him. And it started with playing cards. He says, you'll get to advance to a deck of tarot cards when you are ready. Right now, you're going to learn how to do that with regular playing cards because there's a lot of people don't realize that the old tarot deck of 78 cards has been whittled down and is really a version of our 52 cards that we have today. Each one tells a story very similar. There's 4 suits in each one. Each one correlates to the other. And that was, and I learned to read palms. And from there, that's something that I can do at a moment's notice anywhere. That if somebody ever puts me on the spot and says, hey, I heard you're a magician, what can you do? Well, first, I'm a professional, so I always like to receive payment up front. I think debit, credit, checks are fine, but I prefer cash. But I'll tell you what, I'll give you a little sample. You right-handed to the left-handed, let me see your hand. And give them a quick, simple palm reading, and then offer, you give them a little taste. I learned that in my years of, from my grandmother. My grandmother, we called her Grams because of her years in the drug trade. And it was one of the things that I learned is just a little sample to do that.
Keep them coming back. So Zeke, I gotta stop you for just a second because a couple of things. First of all,
Yes.
that is the longest I have ever kept. I've been quiet in the 8 weeks I'm doing this. So you now have the record for keeping me quiet the longest. I think you have.
And this is part of rapid fire, right?
Yeah. How'd you like that? I got a rapid fire question for you. Boom.
20-minute dissertation.
Right. So a couple of things real quick. Our friend Sebastian Black posted checking in from the City of Lights. So I wanted to mention
Yes.
Sebastian's been a good friend to us, and he's one of the good guys. The other thing is you mentioned Chris. Last week I had Chris and Soydan on, which is going to lead me to the question I have for you next. But Chris has invented a drinking game out of this show. That he says, I've made a drinking game out of your show. Every time Zeke's name is said, I drink. So that may be something from now on. We may have the Zeke Powerz bingo drunk card. So Zeke, you and this is to get you back on track. Your website is paranormalmagician.com. There's no Sponge Bunny shit in your show. Right now you are telling them in your show, this is what you're going to see. Last week, Chris and Soydan and I had a really interesting, fun discussion, and it's actually carried on to Chris and I got together earlier last week or this week. It's all the same day, right? And we talked. We've carried it further about what is paranormal to you, because I've said this every week. I'm a James Randi skeptic. I'm open to the idea of the paranormal being there. But I'm not going to accept it, and I'm not going to acknowledge that it is true or fact until I have the experience or I have the proof that I need to say that the paranormal is something that I'm going to openly support and openly talk about. I love it. It makes great fodder for routines and great fodder for stories. You walk that line. You do readings that you believe are real, and we're pals. I'm not making fun, but you do readings that you believe are legitimate readings, and you've had paranormal experiences in your life, and you know others that have. So talk a little bit about walking that line between what is show, what part of you. How do you walk that line between magician and paranormal?
That's a great question.
I know. I know it's a good question, Zeke. I know. I've been working on it. I've been working on this Zeke Power shit all day.
That's good. I got this right here. I have the spirit.
Zeke, you're dealing with the fucking professional. So I asked the real professional, hard hitting. This is no Geraldo Rivera shit. This is real shit.
So let me answer this. In 2002, I had an experience that I couldn't quite explain. And it took me back to my childhood of the first time that I found out what the paranormal is. Now, to me, my definition of paranormal, I've already said it, it's outside of the normal. So for a regular person, paranormal is going to be something that's outside of their normal life, something that takes place that is absolutely outside of their comprehension or their understanding. My dad, and I mentioned him before, was a World War II veteran. He had been around. He was an Irish alcoholic and had the gift of dad. And my dad was black and white on everything. Hey, Dad, what's up with this? It works like this. You have to do this. You have to do that. This is how life works. These are the lessons you'll learn. You have to do these things, and these will be the consequences. And I watched a television show about Bigfoot. And I was like, whatever it was, when they showed the Patterson-Gimlin film, the famous footage of the Sasquatch walking across the lake bed by the big tree that was down, and I was just freaked out that there was this big, hairy ape creature man out there. But the show was I had never heard any of this before, so I just asked my dad, "Hey, Dad, what's up with this Bigfoot? Is that real? Is this for real, or is that just a TV show?" And my dad said, "Well, son, in life, it's kind of like this. There are things that we know, and there's things that we don't know, and there's also some things that we're not supposed to know. And Bigfoot might be a couple of those."
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I was 7 or 8, and I was just like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, because my dad is black and white and it's like this, and I just found out something that he doesn't have the answer to. So that became a quest for knowledge for me about finding that information out. And as I move forward, and what you experience in my show and how I walk that line is, I do readings. I do intuitive readings. And on all of my material, on anything that you find anywhere, you'll never see the term psychic. Not that I have a problem with that. I just don't like labels. You will not see anything on my website or any of my information about being a big, tall, white dude, because I don't think that makes any difference. I think that we all are psychic. So why do I have to name what I do or my services as psychic? Because now we're getting a very specific, a specific stigmata, that can go with that. I have a problem with guys who, and I've seen this before on social media, hashtag psychic, hashtag I predicted this, hashtag this, and they do this all day, and then it's, hey, my sister's, lost her dog. Can you help us locate the dog? Oh, I don't do that. Now, wait a minute. You're claiming to be a psychic.
Well,
You're
and on this point, I mean,
psychic. How can you not do that?
Your beloved town of Cleveland had this just recently, those girls that they found that had been missing for, Sylvia Brown. She built that family out of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over 10 years, only to tell that family that their daughter was dead. And so that was going to be my follow-up question: is that what we do is entertainment. What I do is entertainment. What you do is, and I talked with Vince Wilson about this weekend. He is a clinical hypnotist as well.
Yeah.
So he does hypnotism for entertainment, but he also does it as therapy. And so what you do is a blend between. I mean, I'm not going to throw you under the same bus that I would throw Sylvia Brown if she were still alive. Thank God she's not. Fuck Sylvia Brown.
Well, I blur the line, and everything you see is I blur the line between science and superstition. And we'll talk about palm reading. So palm reading today, if you went into your doctor and you said, "Hey, I'm here for a physical," and he said, "Great, well, what we're going to do is we're going to read your palm today and take a look at your health," you would say, "This guy's a quack, get out of here." But a couple of centuries ago, that's exactly what they would do, is they would look at your hands. They would touch them. Are they warm? How is your circulation? They would look at your nails and examine what your diet was. And even today, when a child is born, one of the points of the APSCAB chart that they do is they look to make sure that there's creases on the hands and feet that shows proper development. So in a way, palmistry is the first thing that you're going to be introduced to in most Western world philosophy. So with the psychic and the whole side, that I started investigating the paranormal to help a friend of mine who was having some things happen. He thought there was ghosts, and I thought, man, there's no way. Come on, man. He goes, no, there's just some weird things that happened. We believe it was a poltergeist. And I went and we sat around and we set up at night, and we recorded some audio, and we ended up getting out some cameras and setting up cameras, and we never caught anything on the cameras. It always seemed like our timing was off, but there was a lot of phenomena was happening that I just absolutely couldn't explain. So whenever that happens for me, whether it's I'm trying to repair my vehicle and I can't figure out what's wrong, and I got to look up the children manuals, the details, and go pull the codes and do the research and all of that, I approach it the same way. Okay, well, this is happening, so how is this possible? Well, who's an expert in the field? Who can I go study from? Who can I read up on? And I just started reading and following up. I would go when they'd have open ghost hunts and tours. I would meet people. I would see what they would do. And I really was more of an observant. I was just like a sponge, just soaking up this knowledge of how they approach things. And what I found out right away is that in this field, like any other field, there's tons of people that are out there to dupe people, to rip people off, to take advantage of it. If somebody is telling you that they want to help you make contact with someone who crossed over and they want money for that, I'm going to tell you right now, that person is not up to any good. If they are going to assist you in making contact with someone who has crossed over, then they should be doing that for free. Just like if you're having a paranormal problem at your home and you're having issues with that, then you need help. If there is a paranormal service that's out there that is offering to come and help you with this situation and they want to charge you, then that's bad news, because they're not trying to help you. They're trying to help their bank account, and that's where you can draw the difference. Now, again, on everything of mine, you'll see paranormal magician. So the word magician is there. So I would say it keeps me safe somewhat. I don't use the moniker of psychic because, again, I think we're all psychic to some degree, some more than others, without a doubt. But where the rubber meets the road and where the difference is where is the end result. I went and had a lot of readings. And one of the first readings I had, the lady told me right away that I had a curse and that there was somebody that was putting this curse on you. Sure enough, she surmised that it was my ex-wife. She asked me then if I had anything that used to belong to her. And I said, I do. I've got a bunch of gold rings and I've got her diamond ring. Now, this was all lies. I just told her this, and I have some gold rings, and I have, a few other things that were family heirlooms that are very valuable, but, I don't want to get rid of them. She says, you've got to get rid of them. You need to bring them to me, and I will pray over them for 24 hours, and then I will bury them, and I will get rid of them for you. And it's gonna cost you. Now, in order for me to do that, you're buying my time. It takes a lot of my energy. It's going to cost you $500. But for $500, not only can I get rid of all of this great
all your gold,
and all your gold and diamonds, but I can also get this bad off of you. So that told me right away that was a person that was up to no good. If somebody's asking for money to do that, and I've helped a lot of clients, but when I investigated the paranormal, I put it back on them, and I held a high level of accountability to them. If they weren't willing to keep a journal of every event, every day of what happened and when it happened, and I followed up with them every week, if they weren't willing to do that, then I wasn't going to help them. Because it's not like what you see on TV where these guys all show up with a bunch of recorders and we just sit around tonight and we go around asking and trying to provoke the spirits to manifest and make something happen. And the next morning we watch the videos and we tell you what we found and we say, yeah, you got ghosts or no, you don't, and have a good day. It doesn't really work like that. People are out there, and I've had situations with children, with families where they're having issues and they have, they think it's just going to be like that, and it's not. There's a lot.
Real quick, Zeke, Sebastian's checking out. Sebastian's watching. This is what a pal this guy is to us. Sebastian is watching this while he's doing his chemo treatments. So Sebastian, I just want to let you know that you're in our thoughts, buddy, and we love you, and take care. We'll check in with you, buddy. You're a big deal to all of us, Sebastian. So take care, bud.
Without a doubt, and really one of the smartest, cleverest, and kindest guys that you could ever.
And someday you'll have to ask him if you don't know this story. He punched Jello Biafra in the face. Joe Biafra, the lead singer of the Dead Kennedys. He at CBGB's. His band opened for the Dead Kennedys.
He has rubbed elbows with everybody.
Yeah.
The whole punk scene, the 70s and 80s, and I just.
So Sebastian, we love you, and one of these days we're going to get you on here to talk about those days of Deborah Harry and the Ramones and Devo and the Talking Heads. We're going to get you on. So Bill had something for you.
Well,
okay.
I actually have two. One, I was just going to be a smartass and say, had you considered becoming a wedding DJ to help further your psychic ability? And the the real question I had, you said earlier on, your dad introduced you to magic, but then when you were going through all the Foster stuff and everything, you said it was about the '90s when you got in. What was kind of like the key thing that got you going? We've heard Paul's story that he was out for a number of years and then found his magic set with his stepdaughter. Did you have something similar to that, or was magic always something that kind of helped you through and you just decided to take it more seriously?
I love playing cards, and I used to go and play the nickel, dime, penny little gambling groups and stuff, and we'd have fun. And there was a guy that I met who'd come down and we said, hey, we do a little poker night thing. He says, oh, you don't want to play with me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it'll be fun. He's like, okay. He's like, yeah, I'll do it for a little bit of fun. So he came in, and as we're going, he kind of spilled the beans that he had won the lottery. And we're like, really? He's like, oh, it wasn't anything crazy. It was like, $500,000, taxes, and blah, blah, blah. It was about 220, and then an ex-wife, so then it was like 75. But the first thing and he goes, the first thing I did was, and I was like, what? He goes, I went and signed up for magic lessons because I always wanted to know how some of that stuff worked. And then I was just like, what? Magic lessons? He goes, yeah. He says, it's not cheap being a magician. He says, that's where the rest of my money went, because anyway, if you want to be a millionaire magician, start with $1 billion, right? Isn't that how it goes? You start with $1 billion, you end up with $1 million. And I was just like, I never really thought about the fact that you could go and learn magic from another magician by buying lessons. Like, I understood it was in books probably, and I had checked books out, I'd seen books, but I didn't know that was even a possibility. And when I went and I met the local magic group, and then I moved to Indianapolis and I met those guys, and then when I moved back, I took some lessons. And the thing that was most fascinating is I was performing a few years later, and this is a callback to that, and I was doing walk around for a little private event, and this guy, it was one of those deals, and Paul knows it, and you've been to his shows. You do it, you have a good time, you got a couple people that, man, they just had such a great time, they don't want it dead, they're buying you drinks afterwards, they're hanging out, they're picking your brain and all of this. And this guy kept saying, man, he says, I had a really great time, man, you were fantastic. It's like, and you try not to let the ego get to you, and you're always trying to improve. And man, I appreciate that. Thank you. He goes, no, really, you were a lot of fun. It was great. Like, man, you blew us away and blah. Okay, man, thank you. He goes, how did you learn that? And I said, well, I took lessons. I read in books. I took lessons. And he goes, so you actually learned from another magician who does that? And I said, yes. And that's when he said, so what you're saying is that magic is really a guild.
Oh, hold on, Zeke. We got somebody else popping on here that wants to say hello. Another one of your Colorado buddies is going to join us for a quick drink. Hey, there we go.
Who is it?
How you doing?
Can you not? Are you not watching?
See you, Patrick.
So I invited the Bronco game little group here tonight to have a drink with Zeke. So Patrick, thanks for joining us. And what are you drinking tonight, Patrick?
Stag Junior.
Nice. There you go. So thanks for joining us. We're just talking about how Zeke got back into magic after giving it up for a few years, and
that's something that stuck with me, is that they said it was a guild, and I'd never really thought about it like that, but it truly is. Now I understand today the YouTube generation and people buying videos and books and DVDs and the media that's out, the electronic media out there. It's just amazing. And you had to go to a magic shop. You couldn't just get online and Google. I mean, I remember, I'd travel and I'd be in some strange city. The first thing you did is you got out the yellow pages and you looked in between magnets and
magazines,
I don't remember what it was.
magazine and magnets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the guy that's done that. Right.
So you try to find a magic shop. You try to find something like that. And when I joined the IBM, and I'm still a member, 20 plus years. And that was the great thing, is that you would get a list of where all the magic clubs would meet, what cities, and I went to a lot of. I just show up randomly at different locations and meet some of the. And that was the thing, is that the group of magicians, for the most part, were very welcoming, very friendly, and very encouraging. And that was,
and I want to follow up
to
on
a
this.
complete stranger that they didn't even know who it was.
I want to follow up on that in a second, but I want to get Patrick in real quick because he's just with us for a little bit. He's got some other stuff, so he just joined in. So Patrick, got anything you want to talk about? We're hoping that all these things are broken and all the virus goes away and travel restrictions are lifted, and we're going to try to get the four of us back together for the Bronco Falcons game.
Awesome.
They play in Atlanta this year, so I'm going to try to put up, try to sell my a couple of my tickets and pay for all of us to get together to get down and come out to the Falcons game. The four of us we got to go to a game a year. That's kind of what I'm hoping, that the four of us can get together once a year for a game. So Patrick, I know you've got a ton of stuff to do. Patrick works in the medical field, and I know this is a tough time, so I'm not going to keep you all night, Patrick, but I'm going to give you a few minutes to either give Zeke some shit or pat him on the back for being a good dude.
Zeke, what do we think about your Browns this year?
First of all, I knew the hype was too much last year. It was too much, but I got to tell you, I think we've got all the right ingredients, and this will be an amazing year for the Browns. Amazing year, guaranteed.
Guaranteed. You got the Zeke Powerz money back guarantee, right?
I don't think that means anything without the sign.
Right.
How do you do the sign?
Oh, that's one thing we got to get you to teach us the Z tonight, Zeke, and all the pictures.
Okay.
So Patrick, thanks for joining us. I won't keep you all night, buddy, but it was good to hop in. So
good saying hi to everyone.
You're the best, Patrick.
So Patrick, we'll see you later, bud. Take care. Thanks, bud. So Zeke, what I want to talk about with that is that he hasn't left us yet. He's going to stick around.
I'm trying.
You've been trying to get rid of us for a long time. So this is what you do for a living. This is what I do for a living, and we still are at that point where we seek out the advice of others. And I have said this to anybody that'll listen to me. There are a handful of people that are on the Mount Rushmore of the mystery collection, and Zeke Powerz is one of them. And there are times that I'll have something that I know is kicking around in here. And for a long time, Zeke and I called them Monday Motivations with Zeke. And we would check in. Do you remember we'd check in at Monday mornings, and we'd clock out an hour, and I would take my phone to the gym and I'd walk the track for an hour. And we would check in to make sure that we're getting what we needed done. We're writing what we needed. We're building the props we needed. We're researching the methods we needed. We're researching the stories we needed. And out of those came what is probably one of my favorite routines that I've ever come up with. And unfortunately, I haven't performed it a lot because, frankly, I'm scared of fucking magicians, is my Zodiac routine. My Zodiac routine is one of the things that I am the most proud of that I've come up with. And it started with a conversation with you about, okay, there's something here. There's something here. And so to carry on where when you wanted to get back in, you started, when I wanted to get back in, the story is I called, and that's how I met the great Ludini, who, if anybody's seen a mystery collection show, you've heard the story of the great Ludini, and Bill's met Lou. Lou is a big deal to me. And but those relationships that you build in this art, we have a little group, and we have a secret club on Facebook that is the think tank, and we're a little think tank, and we just recently added somebody, which hasn't happened since the very, very beginning, and and we kick ideas around, and out of that has come, for me at least, my Zodiac routine, and then most recently my 38 blocks routine. The blue book routine. So you move on as a professional, and you get kind of past the sponge bunnies, here, pick a card kind of shit, and you start relying on people like Sebastian Black. He's another great resource. He told you something about spirit slates. you told me what he told you about Spirit Slates. So I called him to get permission to use his, and to hear his thoughts on what he did on Spirit Slates. And I think that is, I have a pretty, I don't want to say a bad vibe with Magic clubs, but I'm not a big fan of Magic clubs, and I'm not a big fan of, I'm not a big fan, frankly, of magicians. But there's a handful of us that I think love the art and love the process more than just watch what I can do, watch how amazing I am. We love to look across out in the audience and see that moment of I'm 10 years old again, and I remember the Big Chief tablet from the 5th grade, and I remember going to the circus with my grandma the first time, and I remember the stories that you tell about the stories that I tell, and that's why we do it. It's not to say look at how awesome I am and how stupid you are, which is my problem with magic. So I don't know where I'm going with this, other than you've talked way too fucking much for my show, so I have to keep talking to kind of balance that out. But I wanted everybody to know that that this is a collaborative art, and everything you see that on a mystery collection show has your fingerprints on it, and it has James Corbin's fingerprints on it. It has Vic Madada's fingerprints on it. It has our friend Joey, our the '90s magician Joey. It has his fingerprints on it. And there's a whole handful, and I know I'm missing some people, but the great Ludini. So this what I love about what I get to do is I get to meet people like you, and I get to meet people like James, I get to meet people like Vic that know a little bit of the process, and then I get friends that I can't call Bill a normal person anymore because he knows too much about magic. He knows too much about magic. He can't be a layman anymore. But I get to test things on Bill and say, so for anyone to say that their show and their fame or the success of their magic act is built in a vacuum, they got to be wrong. I mean, everything that I do has the fingerprints of a small group of what I call the Mount Rushmore of the Mystery Collection, and you're part of that. So talk a little bit about how you recently did a Titanic show, an entire show based on the Titanic. And 2 years ago, you came out here to visit, and I picked you up from the airport, and our first stop was the Molly Brown house because you needed to do the research for a certain piece of that show. So we went to the Molly Brown, who was one of the famous survivors of the Titanic. So talk a little bit about how you put together from here to here, how you put together an idea, and use the Titanic show as an example.
Well, I think that's a great point. And going back to what you said, first of all, I love magic and I love magicians. Now, there's a ton of magic that sucks, and there's a ton of magicians who are horrible. Just like food, there's a lot of food that's great that I think is delicious. I don't order food that I don't like. And I also don't hang out with magicians that I don't like. And I don't associate with those who aren't at, the level of integrity that I have. I hear magicians all the time. I don't want to perform that in front of magicians because they'll steal it. Well, I mean, if it's so great and so unique to you, how can they possibly steal you? They might try, but we all know that a copy is never as good as an original. And the Titanic show, for me, started back in '97 when the James Cameron movie came out. And my niece Samantha, who's kind of estranged, I haven't spoken to her in years. She told me, hey, Uncle, why don't you do a Titanic magic show? And I was like, you're crazy, whatever. So I ended up years later, I was always fascinated with the story. I just never really understood how to put that together. And I was talking with Aiden, and I said, Aiden, you did a Titanic show, man, and that's a really cool idea. I thought about doing it, but now that you've done it, he goes, well, just do it. I go, well, you've already got a Titanic show. He says, I don't know the Titanic. He says, make your own show and come up with something yourself. And I was just kind of taken back, like, okay, like I didn't want to be this guy that I see Aiden's show and next thing you know, I'm doing, my version of it. I didn't want that. I wanted something unique. And I brainstormed for a long period of time. It took about 3 years. I had the idea of what I wanted, but I just didn't know how I was going to put those pieces of the puzzle together. And my one buddy, I have to give a lot of credit to Ray. And Ray, I don't know if you're watching. I encourage you. One of my best friends in the whole world, and he is a magician of a different cloth for sure. He's out far in left field, and that's fantastic. And I love guys like that. And when I was trying to put those pieces of the puzzle together, I wanted to be legitimate. I wanted it to be authentic, which means you got to read a lot. You got to do a lot of research. You got to ask a lot of questions. And there's not a lot of places you can go to research the Titanic. And one of the most impressive things that you can do is to go to the Titanic Museum. There's a couple of them. There's one in Pigeon Forge. There's one in Branson, Missouri. They've now got an artifact display in Vegas as well. And there's a few other places, New York, and there's a couple others. But for me, it was all about the Molly Brown house, because I didn't want to focus my show about all the people that died. Yes, it is a seance-themed performance where we are communicating with the dead, but really my goal was to honor the dead. And one of the most amazing and fascinating characters, larger than life, there is just so many stories and so many people I read about the woman who refused to get out of her evening dress after dinner and change for bed because she was afraid something was going to happen and she wanted to be dressed for it. And she didn't want to be in her bedtime clothes. The guy who wrote a story about the Titanic sinking, 20 years before it happened, and he ended up dying on that ship. And he really became a key point of my show. But to go to the Molly Brown house, and we were there. There was an expert from the Titanic there that day.
Yeah, right. I
got to
right.
meet, and we spoke with who was a historian, and we talked about the things I wanted to know is what were the smells, what were people wearing, where were people sitting, what was the experience, and Molly Brown, who and we can just put aside, we'll just talk about the legend of Molly Brown, who they call her unstinkable because she was women and children first, so she was one of the ones to get onto the lifeboat. And most of the lifeboats, as sad as they were, and they didn't have enough, most of them were pretty empty. They were at 40-50% capacity for the number of people that they could carry. And when they were paddling away and trying to get away, she said, "Let's go back and let's save some people. We've got room. Go back." And she insisted that they go back and pick up and help save more people to do it. And that's just one of the many fascinating stories. But that's one that Molly Brown was at a period of time when women's suffrage was not even a thing quite yet. And she was a socialite and a businessman and an entrepreneur, a businesswoman and an entrepreneur, and all of these great things. And really to go to her house, and when you walk in this house, you travel back in time.
Absolutely.
And they tell you, hey, this is not what she owned, but we found something close to it. But she actually wore these clothes. She actually slept in this room. She actually, this is the you go in and you see where the servants worked to prepare the meals and everything that she had. That is amazing.
And I got to tell you how many times. So you and I went, and then the next week my kids were on. I think you came right before Christmas, and my kids were on Christmas break. I took my kids to it like 2 weeks later because I'd never been there. I've lived in Colorado my whole life, and I've never been to one of the coolest spots in Denver is the Molly Brown house. Since you and I've gone 2 other times. Now, the one time was to take my kids, and the other time was to go buy 3 or 4 of those fucking statues because I keep giving them away. I keep buying them and then doing a routine and saying, "Oh no, keep that. That's good. That's for you." And I'm running out of these things. I got to go buy more of them. I got to find a better way to buy them. But there's several websites that have legitimate Ushanti. Is that what they're called? Upshot?
Right.
And they have legitimate ones that are the same size. And I don't know. I guess what I love about that is that you took your research on the Titanic show almost to the same level. I mean, it's about the same level of obsessive compulsive as I take my shit. That I'm doing research on a guy, so I go to his grave all the time, and I get grave dirt, and I send it to my friends all over the country, and I take psychics with me to the tomb and to the grave and say, "Hey, can you ask him if it's okay if I do this?" And I think that was maybe the second or third stop on your Colorado trip that we did is we went out and paid homage to W.D. French, who I don't know if you saw the Keith Olsen episode I had a couple weeks ago, but man, that was awesome to hear Keith's story about W.D. French. So what I love about your show Aiden show, and the guys at Sebastian show, James show. Some of the other guys that we've talked about is the level of is it Teller that has the quote that you will never understand to where a magician will go to do something. I mean, I don't remember what it was, to how far a magician will go to do a simple thing. And you flew to Colorado to listen to this guy talk about the smells, to talk about what they were eating that night, to talk about what the music was playing, and to get the whole vibe of what that last night on the Titanic was. I don't know. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff, and I'm glad you are as well.
Well, and that segues into a couple other things. So I wanted mine to be something more than just that. I created my own props. I designed. I got to give a special shout out to Gemini Artifacts, Vic Nada.
Well,
just such a great guy. And some of the items that I was able to purchase from him, like the letter cards, just something simple, but it just had the right look and feel for what I wanted to have, that nautical experience. To all the guys at East Coast Spirit Sessions, from Steve Gibson and Vlad and Rich and those guys, to allow me to have an opportunity to put my Titanic show in front of everybody in the Atlantic Room of all places.
And that was the year I didn't get to go that year, but I do appreciate you mispronouncing my name and a shout out.
That's it.
I got 3 texts from people in the audience that, hey, Zeke just called you out and he mispronounced your name. So on that note, I want to bring up that you mentioned Vic. I usually start off every one of these shows with the housekeeping. So we're about the halfway point, or we're about at the 45-minute point. So I want to take a quick second and do some housekeeping. This Friday night is a pretty big deal for this show. I've got Dacre Stoker, who is the great grandnephew of Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula. That's pretty big. That's pretty rad. Dacre sent me his book, Dracula, and this is a prequel to Dracula. He wrote it. It's 2 stories. It's the Bram Stoker story on how he came up with it, and it's also the prequel of Count Dracula. It's pretty rad. So Friday night, I've got Dacre Stoker on, and we're doing a drawing. Dacre's he's being shipped. Vic sent him the names of everybody who bought my 38 blocks routine through Gemini Artifacts, and I think we're at 43 people bought it in the last couple weeks. And Dacre's going to pick one name, and you get one of the Gemini Artifacts reproduction first editions of Dracula. This book is amazing. It is, and you won't be able to see it here, but he's got it down to where when you close it, there's dust. There's book dust on it. It's pretty rad. So I still encourage you, although the drawing's over, I still encourage you to buy 38 blocks or go check 38 blocks. I know a couple people that are watching have it and have given really positive reviews. I'm really proud of it. Zeke was part of it from the very beginning. The 38 blocks has been, I'm really proud of it, and I'm anxious to get back on the road and try it out. So I want to go over real quick, kind of just what's coming up. Oh, perfect. And when you get back, I'll have you refill the pitcher. So this is the schedule for what's coming up on this silly little adventure that I get to do on Sundays. This Friday, like I mentioned, is Dacre Stoker. On the 21st, I'm going to take it off. It's Father's Day, so I'm going to sit in the backyard and throw dead animals on a grill and do nothing. And then Sunday, the 26th of June, I've got Adam Zimmerly he owns the Black Monarch Hotel. He's the owner and proprietor of the Black Monarch. We're going to announce the Black Monarch Mystery Collection weekends. We also, and I tipped this a little bit, and I know Zeke and I talked about this, and so I'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about it since this is kind of an offshoot show and we don't have as many people as we do. When I went up to the Black Monarch to meet with Adam about doing shows, he was remodeling a room which was the main dining room. So I asked him, I said, what are you going to do with all this wood? And he said, probably just throw it away or put it in the fire out back. And I said, can I have some of it? So he gave me some of the floorboards from what was the dining room of what was the brothel in the Black Monarch in Victor, Colorado. Well, I took this wood and I shipped it to a craftsman, an absolute artist woods worker, and had him make me a Ouija board box out of it. That is, and I've seen pictures. I don't have it yet. I should have it this week. So I'm going to show Adam for the first time when I have him on the 26th. Maybe it's the 28th. I think it's whatever, 28th. I don't know. Sunday, the last Sunday in June. I can't even read my own writing. The 5th of July, we're not going to have a show because that is the 4th of July weekend. It's also my birthday weekend, and it's my birthday. I don't want to do anything. I want to do only fun stuff. This is fun, but I bought a projector. I'm going to have movie nights in my backyard. Today, I just signed up for the July 12th, and this is going to be a fun one. It's Jack Pachuta. Jack is mysteriesonthenet.com, and Jack runs a murder mystery boot camp that I went to last year to kind of hone my craft of writing murder mystery parties. Jack is the guy when it comes to writing and creating murder mystery parties for small and big groups. Mysteriesonthenet.com. It's going to be really fun. I'm really looking forward to hearing some of the awesome. It's the one with the screwdriver. The horror stories and some cool stories about murder mystery parties. Then the next weekend, July 19th, and this is something Bill turned me on to, and I've been stealing these poor gals' hashtag for years, not even knowing it. Kim Mosier and Jen Taylor, they have a booze and bourbon podcast, and it's BOOS. So they talk about whiskey and paranormal experiences, right? I mean, that screams Paul from about the age of 13 till now. And then July 26th, Brian Kane, and this is a friend that was he was introduced to me through my friend Marita from the Vampire Store in New Orleans. Brian is the high priest of the Alexandrian tradition of witchcraft. He's written the book on Alexandrian witchcraft called Initiation to Witchcraft. That's about all I've got to promote for upcoming. I'm working on August and September schedule. If everything goes right, I'm going to be in September for about, I think, 2.5 weeks in September. I'm going to be in Ireland and in the UK, in Ireland and England. And we're going to take this on the road with us, and I hope to get my friend John Bentley on the show. I've mentioned him maybe second or third to you, Zeke. My friend John Bentley is a big deal, and he lives in Waterford, Ireland, and I'd love to get him on. And so we're going to take this, Bill and his wife, and my wife and I are supposed to go to Ireland and England. So hopefully we can take this on the road in September, but I'm working on August right now. If you guys have any suggestions on anybody you'd like to come on, shoot them out, and we'll see. I've got a list of people that I'm trying to work with. So that is all I've got to promote, other than, if you'll fill that out, then drinks tonight are brought to you by Zeke Powerz.
That's me.
Match the shirt.
Somebody asked me about my logo, and they said, I don't know that whole pyramid thing. That's kind of Illuminati-ish. And I said, well, that's great. I take that as a compliment, and I'm hitting the target. So with my gang sign, and I get that a lot, and you'll see me flash the Z. And so if you use your left hand, and the reason that the pyramid is pointing up is because it's about trying to elevate and grow yourself to a higher level. It's about always moving forward and moving towards illumination or being illuminated, which means the light, seeing the light. It's about growing and becoming more knowledgeable. So that's this. I also believe in peace. I'm a peaceful guy. I don't like to fight. But if you are moving forward and you're pointing up and you believe in peace, if you put them together, it's Zeke the Freak. Now,
all right.
So a big announcement. I've been saving this. Hold on, Paul. I got my big announcement of the night. I have taken a new position with the Mystery Collection. Being with the Mystery Collection so many years, I started as a volunteer, kind of a newbie, and you work your way into an internship, and then you get a membership, and then you get promoted. I was promoted to occultist, and I have now taken a new position in acquisitions. As the acquisitions director of the Mystery Collection, I will be reviewing all of the acquisitions and items that have been obtained, validating and verifying their history, the pedigree, and making sure that these are pretty much Mystery Collection approved artifacts. And the first one is the box that Paul mentioned, the wood that was obtained from the Black Monarch. We're going back. This is 2019. This was last year that this was going on, that they were doing the renovations, and you instantly jumped right on the wood. And that started my first project and my first trip down the road of
yeah, that reminds me of a movie I saw once. Jumped right on the wood. So Zeke, I was gonna try to beat you to it, and I was gonna be serious. Last year the mystery collection had a year last year that I would have never expected. This has gone way further than I expected. When I quit my job, it was 5 years ago in March 22nd, 5 years ago. I thought I'd give myself a year and I'd go back to work. And every year it got better and better. And so last year, the idea of the mystery collection being just me was never the idea it was just going to be me. It was always going to be bigger. So last year I asked Zeke and I asked my friend James, hey guys, you guys want to do shows in your areas under the banner? It's yours. It's yours. You can use whatever you want. Here's your login. And so to do that, I printed up business cards and I surprised them both with business cards that said occultist, mystery collection, occultist. And I think that is I don't know. This never was. It was never just about me. It's a collection. And as I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't be where I am without the group of people I've surrounded myself with. So you can be in charge of acquisitions all you want. You just got to come to Colorado to check the shit out. I'm not sending it to you.
Right, that's a deal. That's a deal.
So Zeke, will go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just want to say one thing that we were kind of spitballing around is that I think that what would be great is if we put together, and really Paul Prater inspired me, listening to him talk, and I talked to Vince afterwards, is doing a series, a mystery collection show called 27. And it would be about all of the famous people who passed away at the age of 27 and contacting them. For example, Jimi Hendrix, one person could do Jimi Hendrix. Keith Richards, the first time that he died.
The first
Amy Winehouse, who hey, shout out to Amy Winehouse. What is it, 9 years that she's been clean? That's a record for her.
That's fucking
no.
I gotta tell you though, Aaron Sherman does a 27 show. And I saw it this past year. Aaron Sherman does a very good 27 show, and he talks about Robert Johnson, the opening. And I hope Aaron doesn't get mad for me talking about this, but he opens with a Robert Johnson Crossroads story. Very good. You should check it out. It's very good. But there is, and when I saw Aaron Sherman's show, I thought, what an amazing thought. What a story. I mean, you got Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, all of them at 27. And so I'm a little bit more into the 33, so I can do a Jesus story. But
gotcha.
But that's that's a little bit different. So we'll talk about that. 33 and a third, right? So we'll so the other thing that we've talked about that you've been part of is a show that Vince mentioned on the show this past Sunday. I know, and I'm gonna screw it up again. It's not called obscene. It's called offensive. And why he would come to me with that idea, I have no clue.
That's odd. Very strange. Very strange indeed. That's pretty much all I can talk about on the show because I'm pretty sure I'll get banned from Facebook.
Well, that's so we're. I told you we keep you for an hour. We're a little bit over an hour, and it's way late where you are in the jungles of Georgia. So Zeke, we're going to let you go, but before we go, I want you to give paranormalmagician.com.
Yes, I should have the new website up soon. I'm WordPressing it up. Got my staff and my little minions working hard. You can still order merchandise. It's still available. Just email me directly. We got T-shirts, pillows, coasters, stickers, keychains, whatever. If you send me the money, I'm sure I'll send you whatever you want.
So before you go, I got to plug my Patreon because I forgot to do that. If there's some really fun things on my Patreon. One of the levels, it's the highest, most ridiculous level, and I threw it out there just to see if somebody would want it. It's my Spirits with Spirit Seance, and it comes with a 20-year Pappy Van Winkle bottle of whiskey, and I got enough that I can do it a couple of times. So hit me up for that. I added two Patreon subscribers today, so I'm going to be putting the East Coast Spirit Sessions on there soon. I had something else I was going to talk about, but I don't remember what it was.
38 blocks still available at Gemini Artifacts.
38 blocks.
Get it while you can.
So Dacre Stoker Friday night. That's going to be a fun one. I'm not going to drink as much on Friday night for Dacre Stoker because I think it's probably a little bit more serious than I'm used to. So Zeke, I got to tell you, bud, you have been one of the shining stars in my life. You have been a dear friend, and I care about you, your family, and I wish you nothing. Oh, I know what I was tell. I remember what I was going to ask. Ta-da! Tell us about your Russian days with your family this year in Florida. Your Russian.
My gosh.
Yes, real quick.
Right.
Give us the 90-second version of your Russian days.
It was right after Christmas, and I was at the the other magic shop, Michael's or whatever, one of those craft stores, and they had a set of Russian nesting dolls that you could decorate and paint yourself. And that's when I had this epiphany that I was going to have Russian Day with my granddaughters. I got 3 little girls. They are the apple of my eye, and they are my heart and soul. And I told them we were going to have a Russian Day. We were going to call each other comrades. I put tattoos all over them. We had tattoos. We decorated and painted my Russian nesting dolls, and they had such a great time. And we were calling each other comrade. And the only thing I didn't get was the fake cigarettes. And we went out to eat, and the youngest
wearing gym suits, right? Wearing track suits.
That's right. Yeah. So we had track suits. I had the temperature turned up so we could be kind of sweaty. I had them all running around so we were like kind of hot and sweaty. And I did do a show one time for the Russian mob. That's another story.
That is another story for another time.
But we went out to eat.
Hold on. If I remember right, they would not let you perform until you drank vodka, correct?
That's with pickles. They had shots of
pickle juice and vodka.
And I was like, no, I'm working. He's like,
no, you're drinking.
No show. No shot, no show. I go, so if I do one shot, I do my show, right? Yes. And then I do it. They said, do another. I said, no. So, I said, no, you made a deal, man. He's like, okay. And there's always that one guy looking out the window the entire time. It was creepy. It was like, for real. Like, it was like I was like in a movie. And so we went out to eat, and I took them out to eat, and we were all showing off our cool bad tattoos. And the waitress come over to take our order, and she looks at the kid, he was 3, and said, oh, I like your tattoos. They're very pretty. And she goes, not pretty, scary. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll be back with your drink.
I'll be back with your Shirley Temple, sweetheart.
Right. So that was our big adventure was having Russian Day with the kids. So that's what I do. To celebrate culture, of course. And we were going to have some Russian food, but they have like cold soup in it, just so we went down.
All right, Zeke. If you'll stick around, I'm going to log off Facebook. But there are not a lot of people that are as important to me in my cellular life as Zeke Powerz. So Zeke, you have the open invitation to the room, which is right around the corner. You know it well. You are.
Room, yes.
We will name it one of these days. Maybe we'll put a plaque on it that calls it the Zeke Powerz room. So I'm gonna log off. Zeke, I love you, buddy. We'll. Everybody, see you Friday with Baker Stoker. And check me out at the Mystery Collection, patreon.com/the Mystery Collection. All right, everybody, be nice to each other and listen